Okay, so, virtue signaling. Woo! Alright, about a year ago, I was doing a moral psychology course, and I had this professor, and it was very clear that beneath his jaded cynicism that he wants humanity to survive and persevere. He's a little optimist. And he really hated virtue signaling, to the point where he gave us a 20-page paper titled Moral Grandstanding. And I think it was to try and inoculate us against virtue signaling in the future, or immunize us against falling for that kind of shit, that type of rhetoric. And this paper, it actually shook me. And my professor succeeded. So here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna explain what it is. I know you already know kind of it, but you don't know it all. Then I'm gonna go on a big, massive virtue signaling, self-indulgent rant of my own. Okay.
Wow, are you ready? No.
Okay, virtue signaling is an attempt to get others to believe that you're a moral person. Okay, you really want that recognition and admiration for your moral character. And it causes a lot of weird behavior, and it manifests in 5 different ways. You'll definitely know what a lot of these are. The first one is called piling on. It's when, say you're in any public forum like the internet, you just copy what other people say. You piggyback off their rhetoric, and you see what the group says, and you just agree with it. You're like, yes, I believe that this is wrong. Okay, and this person should be punished in that type of way. And you do this, you pile on, because it shows that you're part of a very moral group, and therefore, by association, you must be a moral and good person. What sucks about this part of it is you need to hear what others believe first, and then you adjust your own opinion accordingly. And this will come into play a lot more later as well. So the second way this behavior manifests is in something called ramping up. It becomes like a moral arms race where people start clambering over the top of each other to look like a better person than the other. It starts out, you see this on the internet all the time. It's like some idiot says something stupid or racist, and everyone in the comment section is like, this person should be fired. And then the next person's like, no, this person should be fucking put in jail. And then the next person's like, fuck that, this fucking guy should be executed. It's just garbage like that. And just you get more and more extreme situations. Now the reason this happens is actually really cool. Everyone, including you, thinks that they're slightly above average or a slightly better person than most other people, right? Believe it or not, come on, you're a bit arrogant too. But it's like you occupy a slightly higher position in this moral ladder. So when you see that other people agree with you, they sort of occupy the exact same position as you. And that conflicts with your internal notion that you're better than most people. So you need to make a more extreme claim to sort of go a rung up that ladder. Then the person's watching you two fight, and they're like, oh, well, if this is the average, then I need to go higher than that. And that's how you get so many extreme positions on the internet. It's just, the more people talk, the more extreme the general position will be. And that's why there's so much ridiculous shit on the internet. And I really don't like this, because in order to be better than other people, you need to see what they say first. So that means you adjust your opinion based on what other people say. That is not a strong foundation for any system of morals. If what you're going to say on an issue depends on what other people say, is what you're going to say really that valuable in the first place? No, no. It just shows how flimsy and unstable the foundation for that type of debate is. It shows how shallow any type of virtue signaling opinion is. I know I'm getting pretty fucking pretentious right now, but I'm gonna power through, okay? The third way virtue signaling manifests in public discourse. Oh, look at all those fancy words. Don't run away. It's called trumping up, and this is the simplest one by far. It's when you would insist that there is a moral problem even when there isn't one, because you're so eager to find moral problems that everyone else would have overlooked, because that would show everyone that your moral compass is much more sensitive because it can pick up injustices that no one else can. You know, so that's why you get those shitty like lists. They're like, no, we need to talk about this, or those crappy like BuzzFeed Vice articles that are like, why shoelaces are problematic. It's like, you're just trying to look like a good person. Stop. Or when someone makes like a edgy joke, they're like, no, we need to talk about that. That is not okay. When everyone else just sort of like laughed it off because it doesn't really matter. Now, the fourth part of virtue signaling is one you'll definitely know. Okay, it's excessive displays of emotion and outrage. Because the more hurt you are, the more moral you must be. Like, the more outraged you appear, the stronger your moral conviction must have been, and you clearly care about this issue more than everyone else. Because usually, that's a genuine indicator. How upset you get is a genuine indicator of how much you care about something. But the virtue signaler knows this and exploits it to look like they care more, and then just soak it up. Just soak up all the admiration and praise. Like, oh, that's what they do. Now this one can combine with the other ways. It can combine with piling on. People pile on with their displays of emotion, and they can also ramp up because they're competing to look more and more outrage. So you get things like, I am shocked and appalled at this video of this man who shot a duck whilst wearing the American flag, shouting freedom. And then you get someone else who joins in, they pile on, but they also ramp it up. They're like, I am beyond shocked. I just can't bear to watch it. It's too much. I need a break. That duck getting blown to smithereens. It's too much. So they would think that they would get the admiration from other people because they'd be like, oh my God, she just cares so much about ducks getting shot. So now you get like thousands of people online getting more and more emotional and outraged and saying more and more violent things. That's not good. And a lot of it gets focused on like one person who does like a minor fuck up, or like a decent fuck up, okay? And it just, all that evil gets like focused on like one person, and they're just like, ah! Now, the final one, the fifth way,
Number 5.
that virtue signaling manifests, and you'll notice it everywhere. It's called claims of self-evidence. It's just virtue signals, they just claim that their view is just self-evidently true. It's shit like, if you can't see how wrong this is, then you're beyond help. There's no hope for you. There's no point in even debating someone like you. And it's because they're trying to show that they're so morally attuned to detail, that it's so painfully obvious to them. But that the inferior, evil person that they're arguing with, it's not obvious to them because they have such a shitty, poor moral compass. Like, it's just designed to shame another person and heighten your own standing in that little ladder. And the last little thing is that, still got that accent.
I'm Australian, I swear.
The last little thing is that whenever anyone suggests any type of complexity or nuance to this moral issue, and whenever they show any doubts or minor disagreement with the virtue signaler, this virtue, I hate saying it all the time, it's so clumsy as a sentence. The virtue signaler claims that it's just a lack of commitment, or it's like weakness or cowardice on their behalf, you know? Just to shut them down and to justify their more and more violent extreme views. Now I can get to the fun part, the ranting, virtue signaling part of my own. So all because people want to be admired and seen as better than their peers. That all motivates this type of stuff. That's why all these big public forums, like, it's why the internet can almost never have like a productive debate. It's why so many opinions get ridiculously extreme, and it's why so many people gang up on someone who's done something mildly wrong. It's why all this online debate is so extraordinarily shallow, and it's why all these issues that the virtue signaler only really chooses issues that are easy to understand, because that'll have the biggest audience, because it's more simple, so they can be admired and recognized by more people as being a good person. And it's why so many people like just accuse, like 100,000 morons just want to look slightly better than someone else. So they like accuse all these little poor innocent bastards of this most horrible shit. All complexity is thrown away and it's just riddled with shaming and name calling. Now this causes like 3 or 4 like major actual problems. Firstly, it causes something called outrage exhaustion. You just cease to care. Like when actual pleas for emotion are just surrounded in an ocean of attention-seeking hyper-emotional garbage, it gets harder to trust that that person's being genuine, and you cease to care. Like you become apathetic about it. And as soon as you become apathetic, all these like evil forces trying to do stuff, when you're apathetic, you just refuse to do things. So there's nothing stopping them now. They're just free to do their horrific garbage. Another massive thing that it does is it makes people become really cynical, and it's not a real type of cynicism. It's actually called in the paper naive cynicism, because say 1,000 virtue signals, it's just they do a little bit of virtue signaling and it just builds up over time, and all you would see is thousands of people virtue signaling, being attention seeking. So you get this image of like humanity. You start to think that people are more narcissistic and egotistical and selfish and attention seeking than they actually are, because you don't see the people who don't virtue signal. All you're exposed to is the garbage, and you get this cynicism that isn't deserved, you know? And obviously, all this virtue signaling causes a ridiculous amount of group polarization. When you get like more extreme views on each side, they just go further and further away in them like moral ladders. And it becomes super hard to agree with people, especially when there's so much resentment for each other and you've vilified each other like beyond any type of cooperation. That's why dinners get so awkward a lot of the time. Like, your grandpa's listening to, the snowflake media, or the dishonest left wing, and then you're listening to like all these like conservative homophobe stuff, and then you're just sitting there with like an actual human being, and it's like, fuck! It ruins a lot of things. This is just me now, but since it's so like, this isn't the essay, since it's so predictable, all this virtue signaling stuff, it's really easy to like manipulate if you're in any position of power, because you could just start any type of controversial debate and just profit off everyone else trying to look good in that debate and vilify the other person and look better than their own peers. It's like when news shows host those shitty debates about feminism or any like race baiting stuff. It's like you're just starting a controversy, and then you know all these internet people are just gonna, oh my god, and then that wasn't very eloquently put, but I think you get the general vibe, you know? And just a little thing that pisses me off is it manufactures enemies, like liberals versus conservatives, and then all this virtue signaling imbues you with all this like hatred and animosity towards whichever's the other side, and then you just spend hours watching those garbage like Ben Shapiro videos, like liberal owned by facts and logic, and then those reactionary ones from like liberals owning conservatives, like shaming them, this homophobic man. It's like, it's just yuck. Sort of like made a little whole subset of like YouTube videos, and I just don't like that. And the last thing, it's just this virtue signaling. It's just lying. It's just exploiting a tragedy so you can look good, and you ruin public moral discourse, because like it's supposed to inform people on what they should do, but then you've just perverted that process into becoming this masturbatory thing where you devalue all public opinion, because now it's just a bunch of angry virtue signalers instead of like actual answers on really tricky moral situations. It hurts me. And that right there, that excessive emotional reaction, that's virtue signaling. This whole video is just like, oh, I'm better than the people that are virtue signaling. And even me calling myself out, it's just a cycle. You know where the thought's gonna go. I just don't like it. And now you know. Now you like, now you know better. I love that channel. But seriously, you'll recognize it a lot. People pile on They ramp up the problem. They say there's a problem when there usually isn't one. And then they just have excessive emotional displays and then claim it's self-evident and just attack people. Don't virtue signal. See ya.